What's up, everybody? This is BakaBites. I'm Frankfurter. That is Magically Average, and today we are doing our spring 2025 anime review. Now, we've got we've narrowed down the list considerably from when we started the our first episode review of everything. I think mine is quite literally in half. I think I watched 24, no, I watched 22 episode ones or 23 episode ones, and I'm ending my list at 13 shows finished for the season.
I watched 14 episode ones. Yeah, because Food for the Soul and Mono did not come out right away.
Correct.
So I skipped out on those. So I watched 14 and ended with 6.
Actually, I should say that, yeah, no. Well, there's 3 on my list that I did not watch the episode ones for our review, but I finished. But we'll get to that
Yeah.
later. Um, let's just start straight from the bottom. Shows that we did not continue. Uh, if I'm gonna just be completely honest, I think I talked about it in the for episode 1 review. Dinner Table Detective, awful. Did not watch it.
Yeah.
Please put them on. Takamine-san, awful episode 1. Just it was too much of not what I wanted.
Yeah.
We're
I
done.
I
We're done.
I didn't continue it either. I was like, I'm okay. It's all right.
Yeah. Guilty Gear, I watched that first episode, and as I said in our review, it's not a good place to start if you're getting into Guilty Gear because they throw so much at you and expect you to know, and remember these names, and it's just like too much. Too much. Watch a few lore videos beforehand, maybe. And then Yandere Dark Elf didn't finish. Yeah,
Shocker.
for obvious reasons. Yeah, shocker. And then one that I think is on potentially your list, Zatsutabi, that's Journey. This is one that I did really hope that they were going to do an English dub for, but they never did, so I didn't finish it. I did really enjoy it. I did give that first episode a 7 out of 10. But it's just something that if I ever one day have time, I'll go to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it on your completed list, and we can
No,
hold off on it?
it's on my go back and watch list.
Okay. Because yeah, that one was really had a solid episode 1. I would love to continue
Yeah.
it, but there was just so much else. And then can a boy girl friendship survive? I also said that I was maybe going to continue this one.
God.
I didn't. The characters were, it hurt me on the inside because of how much it reminded me of high school to an nth degree, and I was just like, no, I can't go back.
I wanted this one to be good, and I gave it 3 episodes. I had full intentions on completing it. I got through 3 episodes, and I was like, I hate every single character except one of them. They're all miserable. They're so frustrating.
Yeah,
This was one series where I thought it could fill that pure romance slice of life hole for this season because there wasn't a bunch couple of them you could categorize them as oh, romance slice of life, but they have a weird mystery twist or phantasmal
yeah.
twist or something. This was just purely that. But God, I after finishing the 3rd episode, I was like, no, absolutely not. These characters are abysmal to be around. It was nails on the chalkboard just listening to them, watching them interact. So this was one of my frustrating dropped ones.
Damn, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate to hear. Because yeah, that again, I just was not gonna. I was on the fence, and then there was just way too much that I
Just
was like, we're
imagine
good.
imagine someone, your best friend who's the opposite gender of you or sexual orientation or identity, however you want to describe it, and you're best friends and you've come to that conclusion, and they get so mad at you because you're interacting with another person of the opposite sex, gender, sexual orientation, that they scream in the middle of a restaurant, and your reaction is to scream back at them, and that's how the episode ends.
Fuck that in a
like,
bag of chips.
I'm just I watched it. I was rubbing my temples, oh, this can't. This isn't cringe. It's just, it's not
It's
how
annoying.
humans interact. It's not what people do.
Yeah,
So
that does not sound
that was a
great.
very quick nix. Nope, 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 nope.
Fair enough. The last few, I have 5 shows here, for which I watched episode 1s and do plan on continuing that I just didn't finish, purely because they are kinda sequels minus one of them. And then we'll get into it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
To Be Hero X, not a sequel, so half of these are not sequels. To Be Hero X, I watched the first 3 episodes or 2 to 3 episodes. Really enjoyed it, but it wasn't necessarily like something I wanted to watch currently. Like I gave the first episode an 8. I think the follow-up episodes to that were really great as well. The art style is wonderful, the acting is great, and everything about it was really good for all intents and purposes. But it was and I hate to say this because it is anime, but at the same time it is leaking into anime. There's so many just, like, superhero, like, shows in general and overpowered
Yeah,
shows and everything else that it's just, like, in
yeah.
general, superhero just I can't watch anything superhero-esque. It just I have that fatigue, and it's just one of those, I really
Well,
wanna like this, I really wanna watch it, but I can't stand it right now.
I mean, even outside of anime, like it's I've been so like out of the superhero game for years
Same.
now, probably, and it's probably due to the fact that I watch so much Marvel movies, and then they're just like, "You want more?" And they turn up the fucking volume, and they're like, "Here you go!" And you're just like, "Please stop! I'm drowning. I don't want. What is
Yeah.
this? Ant-Man and the Wasp? Who gives a shit? What? Like, what are
I
we?
think
What are you getting into now?"
the last superhero movie I watched in theaters was whatever the last Spider-Man one was called, and then I think the last
Far
TV
from
show I
home.
watched was, yeah, and then I think I watched, Captain American whatever that TV show was.
Oh God.
The Captain America TV show. I watched it, yeah, it was fine, but it's just like I haven't really watched anything since, and fun fact, I am actually going to see Fantastic Four at the end of the month, which is, my first superhero movie in theaters since Spider-Man,
Well,
so I'm wondering how that'll continue the the
I
superhero
was just
fatigue, but
I was just gonna say because we have Fantastic Four. There's a new Superman movie coming out soon
I
too, and
care less.
I'm like,
It's
oh
I
my
think it's,
god,
like, this weekend. If it's not this weekend,
yeah.
it's next weekend, but
I
it's
think
just
you're.
like, I could care less.
It's
But,
it.
like, I had friends reach out and they're like, "You wanna go see Fantastic Four?" I was like, "I haven't seen you in forever. Sure, I'll suck it up and go
the
see it."
the superhero movies nowadays are like the equivalent of back in the day when TV shows. There was like a CSI and an NCIS, and now there's like 5,000 different variations. There's like NCIS Miami Hotline 50241, the expedited X, and you're like, oh, I love that version of the other 30 different iterations of it. Cool. I'm just like, no, stop. Please stop. Just calm down. Just slow the pace. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I
So,
fell into that too because I wanted to watch Go Go Loser Ranger. But I
fun
was just
fact, I
like,
actually picked that back up this past week.
did
I
you?
picked it back up yeah, because they have a dub out, and so
Okay.
I'm nearly done with season 1, and it is good. It's a very
No,
enjoyable
it is
show. I
good.
really I
I,
really like it, but I understand. But the fact that it's more focused on the villains is something that why I like what I'm like, "Okay, I can get behind
but
this a
that's
little bit more."
I tried to I tried to go through those mental hoops as well because I was like, yeah, it's like on the villain side. But then I also equated it to vigilantes, and I was like, yeah, it's like not really it's not like true superheroes. They're like the off the grid superheroes, right? And I'm like, no. At the end of the day, both of these anime are still fucking superheroes. I can't do it. But
Yeah,
those are two series that I really do. I mean, like I've read through most of Vigilantes, so I think even they just announced season 2 is like
for
officially
next year. Yep.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, because the last episode came out today, which
yep.
to be fair, it is on my list of things I've rated. Have not watched the last episode, but
Okay.
I've read it, so I know what happens,
Yeah. I think
etc.
I've read enough to where I've covered even through season 2 and probably mostly into
Probably, yeah.
season 3. So like I know what happens and it's really good. I'll go back and watch it at some point, but like in the same way with Go Go Loser Ranger, like I think I've read the first volume and I'm maybe seen the first 3 episodes, so I'm in line with
Okay.
what I know. And it's good, but it's still like it's in that superhero bucket. And right now that bucket is overflowing and I need to let it drain a little bit. Like freshen it up with
Yeah.
some other series and other genres.
Yes, but other shows that I have started and I will eventually get back to, basically all the huge sequels and Gundam. So Gundam we'll go over next, Gundam G-Quicks. The first 3 episodes were basically just the movie that I saw in theaters,
Hmm.
but machete orders. So they started with episode this so movie will split into episode 1, 2, and 3. The actual season of anime started with episode 2, then episode 2 of the anime went back to episode 1 of the movie, and then 3 is 3. And it was like, "Why? Why did you do this? You just released this in theaters, and
Huh.
now
Yeah,
you've gone back and you're just like, 'Let's chop it up,
they
baby.'"
pulled
It's
an
just like,
episode 4.
yeah, I was so confused, but, like, I rewatched the first 3 episodes. I started episode 4, but I got busy and didn't end up finishing it. It's one of those things that I just wanna like, wait for it to be out and just binge
Just
through the
grind through it.
entirety of it
Yeah.
because it is one of those series that I'm gonna really enjoy. I know I've already liked the first 3 episodes. I see the trajectory that it can go. I'm excited for it. So I'll binge it here shortly.
Hmm.
But, that was one that I didn't finish. Fire Force is another. By the way, all 4 of these shows that I'm about to talk about, 8 out of 10 for the first episodes. Fire Force season 3, again, it's more Fire Force. Really enjoy the first 2 seasons minus the weird fan service bits that they
I mean, it's
decided to throw in.
from the creator of Soul Eater, so,
Yeah, and what are you gonna do?
we all know about
But
Blair.
yes, we know about Blair. But yeah, no, so Fire Force, I'll go back to. And this is, I think, core 1 of 3 that they're doing for the
Yeah.
final season.
Yes.
It's either 2 or 3, but the next one comes out next year,
Yeah.
if I remember
I
correctly.
think you're right.
And then the last one is Windbreakers. I watched the first episode, gave it an 8, loved it. Will continue it, but just again, I this season was kind of strange in the sense that I was really geared towards and zoned in on the really dumb shows, just to turn your brains off and just enjoy the pretty
Well,
colors.
yeah. I mean, I think that speaks volumes to, like, we were both personal stuff. We were both very overwhelmed with work. Still are. And
Oh my god, yeah.
it's a lot
These
easier to go it's a lot easier to go and turn on a really stupid show and not think and then just, like, drool and watch all of the fun things happen on the screen than, like, engage in something that makes you emote, whether it's, like, you know, positive, negative, or just makes you think in general. It's like, no, I don't really want that. I want something where I can, like, shut the lights off and just fucking
zone
ingest
out
it.
and
Yeah.
enjoy.
Just
Yeah.
shove it down my throat. I don't care. Like,
But
I
to be
don't make me
fair,
think about it.
I did grade those shows accordingly because I know they're not great, and I
Yeah.
did grade them
Because you
accordingly.
have to. Yeah.
Yes, but the last show that I never started, it's on my watch list, I will watch it, Shoshimin: How to Become Ordinary. I thoroughly enjoyed season 1, season 2 just came out, and the, like, art card or the title card or whatever the hell you
Oh
wanna
yeah, we
call it,
made
the
fun of it.
poster
Or
for it.
I made fun of it at least.
No, the one that they released for Crunchyroll is so much darker and ominous that I'm just
Oh,
like,
because the
I
one they
need
had
to
on
know
live
because the
chart.
shoe never dropped. The shoe never dropped in season 1. I'm like, I need to know. I need the shoe drop now. And it didn't happen. I'm like, cool. Season 2 is coming out. It's fully out now. I'm gonna watch it. And I'm waiting for that fucking shoe to drop because if it doesn't, then the title card makes no sense.
Because I think the one on live chart was just like them standing with, like, smoke in the background or something. It was like a
Yeah, that's
fire.
essentially it. Then never
Yeah.
mind, that is what it was.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I was like,
but
it's mysterious, but I'm like, it's stupid. It looks like they're posing for, like, a mid '90s album cover.
you're not wrong. But, those were all the shows that I didn't finish. You've talked about a couple. Do you have more that you wanna talk about?
Yeah, Catcher at the Ballpark is one that I didn't finish that I want to go back to. Zatsutabi is another one just because I like the vibes. It's very. We were talking earlier, and it's like it's on par with Mono to a degree, but this is purely like I like that it's travel touristy anime, but the twist is like she's doing it for inspiration because she's a part-time mangaka still in
Yeah.
college, but like, I like that. I like having another added layer. It's not like I'm bored and I want to travel, or I'm super rich and I'm just gonna fly around places. She's like, I'm in a rut and I don't have any inspiration. I'm just gonna go ask random people on the internet which direction I should go, and pick a spot and head there. And I'm like, that's fun. That's cool. And then you get a little history lesson, and some cultural facts
Yeah,
about
like
where she
what to
goes.
expect if you do come
Yeah,
here.
which I think is really cool. And then I mean, I already talked about Vigilantes. I'll probably go back to it eventually, but I think those are like that's really the only two. I might end up watching Mono, but I think Zatsutabi might just fill that nice little slice of life void I have right now.
And I have a feeling as soon as I talk about Mono, you're gonna change your fucking mind.
I'm
But anyways,
sure. I'm sure. Same with Food for the Soul, because those are the two that came out late this season, and I didn't watch the first episodes, and I just couldn't go ever. I couldn't go back to them because I didn't have the time. I'm sure both of
that's
them I
fair.
would love, but
Yeah. No, you would definitely enjoy Food for the Soul. But let's get
yeah.
into it. Let's since I have significantly more and we share a majority, I'm just gonna talk and gab and just fill my
I'm gonna go on mute
fill the
and
void.
drink my
Yeah,
coffee.
just have. Oh my god, you're drinking coffee at fucking 9 p.m. You mad lad.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'm gonna start at the bottom of my list, worst ranked to best ranked. And before we get, or I'll stop right before my top three, and then you can go over your two, and we'll go over our top three together.
Okay.
Starting at the bottom of the barrel, we have Catch Me at the Ballpark. You were saying I'm gonna go back and watch it one day. It's at the bottom of the barrel, but at the same time, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. This also is the biggest dip in score. So my first episode score for it was a 7.5. I ended at a 5, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yikes.
So yeah, no, like it's sad when the intro song for like has the it shows just a small snippet of actual baseball, and that is better than all of the baseball shown throughout the entirety of the show combined. Which is
Yeah.
still not a lot, but it is still significantly better. Yeah, the animation quality after episode 1, like, episode 1 wasn't anything to sneeze at, it wasn't the greatest, but, like, whatever you're thinking, it's probably that bad.
Yeah.
It dropped drastically.
I
Um,
definitely didn't think it was gonna stay
no,
that
it by no
quality.
means, but, like, it was just awful.
Yeah.
Like, it was downright real bad. It's got major faults, but, like, I enjoyed I enjoyed getting to know all the characters, getting to know the behind the scenes and what happens, etc. And they have like a bunch of callbacks. It's wonderful, but they introduce a bunch of just like character interactions at the beginning, and like throughout the entirety of the show, they only reference them like a handful of times. Like some of the more interesting ones that I'm just like, cool, you put this in the actual intro song. When are you going to revisit
So
this
you
thing?
you
And then
fell
they
f
just never do.
you fell for the OP curse. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I watched it near the end of the show, and I'm like, "You have it here. You
No.
have it." Like, but anyways, so it's a 5 out of 10 for me. The next one, which I did not watch in episode 1, it wasn't on our review, that I finished this season because it got an English dub, and I just was pure curiosity as to how bad it
Oh,
actually was because it got an English dub,
I know
and
this
that is
one.
the beginning after the end.
Oh, okay.
Now, yeah, so everybody was like after we recorded our like intro, like this is what's coming out this season, like episode 1's aired, a lot of press came out about the show. People so excited for the beginning after the end. And then immediately after episode 1 happened, there were petitions to remake the show
Yeah.
already because of how awful the animation was.
I was
And
just gonna say
spoiler
that.
alert, it doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
This is a 6 out of 10 for me. It again, it's another overpowered, isekai show where dude who is a king in another world, who basically was like a puppet king, dies, reborn as a child, and then just, like, actually learns to, like, what a family is, like a loving family is, and caring about people, and but overpowered.
Yeah.
And it was fun, but it wasn't great. Like, I enjoyed my time with it, but, like, by no means, if it gets a season 2, I would go back
And
to it unless it got another English dub.
this is a
So,
manhwa too, right?
this was a manhwa.
Yeah.
We're going with the tradition of fucking awful manhwa adaptations other than Solo Leveling, because
Yeah,
apparently
Tower
Solo
of
Leveling seems
God.
to be the Tower of God was good but
Eh.
not great. Solo Leveling was good, and then
Yeah.
everything else that I've seen and have heard of has just been shit.
Yeah. I
So,
felt bad
it's
so
just
bad too because I kept seeing interviews with the creator
mhm.
and they're like, "Oh man, the series is so great. It has such good reception, like the source material does. Like, are you excited to see it animated?" And they're like, "Yeah." A little nerve wracking, and then the season begins, and it's just like, ah, my
Oh
eyes!
no.
Stop this! End it! And I'm just like, oh god, that's like the worst feeling when you get such good reception for your original creation, and then they adapt it, and it just becomes this like heaping pile of doo doo, and people forget that like you actually made something decent, and then the studio animated it like turds.
To its credit, the story is actually pretty good.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what
it's
I've
like
heard.
for overpowered shows, the story is pretty good. There's a few pacing issues here and there, but
Uh,
overall, it's
yeah,
solid. It is. But again, yeah, there are a lot of faults with the adaptation that I gave it a 6 out of 10.
yeah, yeah.
The next one, which is also at a 6 out of 10, dropping from a 7.5 from a first episode, is the Gorilla God's Go-To Girl. This show is
Oh
pure
no.
just yeah, no, it's another one of those things where, like, again, I knew the animation quality wasn't gonna stay, at a consistent pace, which is fine, but, like, there were some things about it that were just ultimately frustrating plot-wise,
Yeah.
character-wise, etcetera, that is just like, as much as I am enjoying this stupid reverse harem about teenagers getting blessed by animal gods and this one girl getting blessed by the gorilla god, just like as if that wasn't bizarre enough. Like I enjoyed my time with it, but by no means is it any good.
Did you say
It's
bizarre?
fine. Yeah, soon, buddy. Soon. But yeah, no, the Gorilla God's Go-To Girl. It was one of those shows that I even told my friends, I was like, "Yeah, like, I've been really enjoying the stupid shows." And they're like what?" And I was like this one." And they're like, "Cool, we're gonna watch it." I'm like,
No, no,
"No,
no. No, it's
please don't.
bad.
It's bad. It's really not good, but I'm enjoying it." So, yeah, but, one that was actually a surprise to me that consistently was a 7 out of 7 from first episode to end, from Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman.
God.
I actually thoroughly enjoyed this one. The animation, believe it or not, is pretty solid. Like they have 3D fight scenes, but the CG is relatively clean.
Mhm.
Like I thoroughly enjoyed the fight scenes. I think that it's a harem of an old man and his disciples, but like it was still a fun time. I really enjoyed it, and the story, the, like, plot that it progressed is another, typical fantasy story of, oh, the church is bad, spoilers. So, like, yeah, it's predictable, but it's fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it to the point where it's just, like, it didn't take that dip in quality that I was like that I would give it below a 7, but it's still not good enough to get over that hump.
Yeah.
So yeah. Next up, 7.5 out of 10. Didn't have an episode 1 watch because it came out late. Food for the Soul. I enjoyed this show. There was like it was inconsistent at times, just both kind of pacing and like animation, but I think that the characters were delightful. The food they make was wonderful. And just the crazy zany scenes in between to like spice up the comedy were great. Like the we have a new fucking anime dancing scene with
Oh.
the girl who has the sheep hoodie. It's fantastic. Like I really enjoyed my time with Food for the Soul. Like it is just a this warms my heart and I needed to do nothing more than that. And for that, I thank you. But
Mm.
that's Food for the Soul. I've got a few more that I'm going to go over. Next one being Once Upon a Witch's Death. I
Oh,
gave this
yeah.
a 7.5, started at a 7.5, and it was on my continue as a one more episode. It ended up getting an English dub, so I watched all of it, just kind of listening to it and watching it.
Yeah.
Again, another one of those shows that the animation quality isn't the greatest, and that's kind of like the moral of the season. The animation quality was just like, if this, at the very top here is like all the fight scenes of Jujutsu Kaisen and you're like fucking Pluto, everything was just straight in the middle. There was nothing inherently bad about it, but there was nothing inherently good about it.
Yeah, that's
It
fine.
was very passable. And
Yeah.
Once Upon a Witch's Death was no exception, but its saving grace is the main character and how delightful they actually are. and despite the plight that they're facing, the side characters are wonderful. I think that they are very complementary to the main character, and, when they come in and out of the story, just like, depending on what is going on, is very organic, and they belong in that situation. I
Mm,
think it's great.
yeah.
Nobody's there just to be there. And then the plot itself and the world building were wonderful. I think that this was a overall great show, but animation quality makes it a 7.5 instead of like an 8.5. Because honestly, like, this show had everything I wanted, like, for a show.
Hmm.
So very impressed, very happy with Once Upon a Witch's Death. It would be something that, if you don't necessarily want the greatest animation quality, but you want a solid story, I would say that this is a good adaptation, or this is a good watch.
Yeah.
But from there, we can only go up. The next few that I have are 8 out of 10s, and I think I'm going to start with the one that you haven't watched, and that is Samurai Legend. Now, this is a Netflix show. It's another one of those, let's give an old property a new coat of paint.
Ranma one
And
half. Or to say it's
yeah,
yep.
yeah, et cetera, et cetera. Go down the list. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a fun time. The characters were very complimentary of each other. The arcs didn't overstay their welcome. They were well paced. The animation quality to it too was great. Like, everything about this show was fun. I really thoroughly thought this was a really fun show. I don't think a lot of people gave it enough of a chance to watch it because A, it's on Netflix, and B, they're like, "Oh, old is old." Yeah, old is old to a degree, but at the same time, old can still be good.
Hmm.
I do think that it is funny that Netflix got Ranma and this show, because these shows plot-wise are
Very
very, very similar.
yeah.
Minus like the gender bending of Ranma, this is just like, guy shows up, or, his dad knows this girl's dad and beats him in a duel, so now Yaiba gets to stay at the dojo and, try to become the strongest samurai of all. That is the basic plot of the show, and then,
Yeah.
a guy who gets defeated at the school turns into an Oni and tries to take over Japan, so Yaiba has to try to stop him. That
Oh
is your
my god.
overall arcing Yeah, that is your overarching plot. It's still going. The show is like, it doesn't have an episode count, which I find odd, but it's still going. Yeah, no, I know. No episode
Huh.
count. So I don't know how many episodes are left in this series, if it's gonna be just, "Hey, we're gonna just adapt all of it and call it quits," or what. But, yeah, this is another show done by Wit, by the way, and it's wonderful. I think that everything about it was a fun time. So, that's
Nice.
that's my time with the Aiba Samurai, Legend, which is on Netflix again. Now the next one, I don't know if I want either way, it's one that we're gonna talk about because both of
Well,
these are 8 out of 10s. They're
do you want me
both
to
on your
do you want
list.
me to go through the two that you haven't watched that I've watched?
Go through
Because
those
they're
2 and
below
then we'll talk.
they're both below eights. The first one is a ninja and assassin under one roof. I just wanted something similar to your God Gorilla God one. I wanted something stupid. Turn the brain off. This one fit
Just
the
turn the
bill.
brain off, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I gave first episode 6.5. I gave it overall 5.5. It had a
It served its
weird
purpose.
yeah, it served its purpose, but I will say it had a weird imbalance with like being really goofy and funny. The back and forth dialogues were always really quick and witty, but then there would be like these sentimental moments. Like they just kind of thrust in. There'd be like, here's be sad. And you're like, man, I wasn't expecting that. I don't want like sadness. Don't make me feel things. Just be stupid more. Like the fight scenes all lasted 5 seconds. No joke. You'd get a new character. They're designed to be super cool. And then the fight scenes would literally be over in 30 seconds at most. And you're like, okay,
Okay.
cool. Uh, the characters were fun, but I mean, story wise, it's not great. Like, there were some really stupid episodes that didn't make
Yeah.
any sense that I was just like, why is this a thing? And then, like, the last 3 episodes were just intense. Like, intense. And I'm just like, just stop. Please, just go back to being really goofy and weird. I like that more.
So the tonal changes just didn't make sense.
Yeah, and they were sporadic. It'd be like you'd start off the first half of the episode and it'd be like, "Oh, the ninja decided that she wanted to try this different ninjutsu and did this weird experiment with the assassin laboratory maniac girl." And then, "Oh no, something quirky happened." But then sadness because there's something about family or whatever. And I'm just like, "Oh god, like pick a lane just for like an episode or two." So, it was a five and a
Yeah.
half. My other one was Kowloon Generic Romance. This one was actually good. I gave the first episode a 7.5. Overall was a 7. It I feel like you would like it because it is mysterious. It's not detective, but it has like
Yeah.
a weird supernatural mystery behind
There's
it.
like an eeriness to it. You're like,
Yeah,
ooh.
it's not unsettling, right? It's not like you're like creeped out by it. It's more just like you're just really confused. You're like, what the fuck is actually going on? Because you just it doesn't tell you anything, right?
Okay.
It unravels itself as it progresses, and at the very end, it kind of like you're like I have it, and you realize there's another tangled mess that quickly unravels like within the last 3 episodes. Like you think you have it figured out, you're like aha, and then you're like oh shit, there's more, and I was way far off. And that's where my biggest shtick was. I thought I would have given this like an 8, honestly. Because I love the
Yeah.
characters. The animation style is really cool. Like it's really nice. Like I like it as it's unique. And it is good quality too. Story is really again, it's very engaging. But I felt like the ending did like those last 3 episodes kind of did like a soft shark jump, we'll say. Where like the twist was like you're like, okay, fine. It doesn't make all that much sense, but when you start to pick at it more, you're like, okay, cool, I guess. It was kind of like a weird cop out situation. The ending was weird too, because it does seem like there's going to be more question mark. But like
I believe that's yeah, because the series is still going
so
on.
yeah,
So
because it's like the big mystery got solved, and then you kind of have this realization as it ends. You're like, oh shit, the what was
oh wait,
originally
there's more.
you thought like you're like, "Oh, this is the mystery." You get sidetracked because something bigger happens, and then when the ending happens, you go, "Oh shit, this is the first mystery and it's still not uncovered. Like what's going on?" But I just it's going to be a weird having not read the source material. The anime will have a weird pivot moving forward, but it was still fun. You know, if you want a mystery thriller with a nice hefty splash of romance baked in, this is a really good
Nice.
one. Um,
Yeah,
but
there's currently 11 volumes out
so
in existence.
I'm sure they'll have enough for sure a second season, potentially even a third question mark. I don't know how far into the
Yeah, depending
material.
on how far the series goes on,
I
but
mean
yeah.
it does seem like they took liberties and probably cut a few corners to get like this first chunk of the story wrapped up. So I imagine it'll only
Okay.
be one more season, assuming that all of the source material is out. But it was good. It was 7 out of 10. Wasn't fantastic, but it was good.
Nice. There's one show that I will hop into before we talk about our mutuals
Look ass.
because it's just outside my top three. I have My Hero Academia Vigilantes. Gave the first episode a 9. Gave the season overall as an 8.5. Granted, I still have yet to watch the last episode, but I've read the series. I know what happens, and I thought that this was a wonderful adaptation. This is so much better than fucking My Hero Academia in general.
Well,
Just from a pacing wise, the character wise, and just kind of tonal wise, I think that all of it was a lot better.
I'll play devil's advocate and say it does have the luxury of having an established world
Universe,
already.
yes, you're
Yeah, so like you don't have that the slowness of going into your first year of school, like even getting to UA, right, with My
yeah,
Hero, and then like going through courses and doing a training arc and then doing a combat arc and then doing a tournament arc and then doing a camping arc and then you're like, God damn it. And then doing another battle arc and you're like, oh my God. And then you're like, ooh, finally villains. And then they're like there for half a second. And then you have another training arc and you're like, Jesus. And then you have an apprentice arc and
yeah.
So, like, at least Vigilantes, you get right into it because everything's already grounded, right? You don't have to
But at the
give
same
much
time, like,
backstory.
you also deal with more. I won't even necessarily say adult because they are not all technically adults. You have an old man, a college student, and then a girl who I think is in her 3rd year of high school. So it's like
Yeah.
a more older,
You, yeah.
cast, but not
Well,
necessarily that much older.
and bigger point to that is it is a lot smaller. Like your main cast of characters
Yes.
within the first season is realistically like 4 for your main cast.
Yeah, I'll give you that. And
So,
I the thing though that I also like is that you don't necessarily need to watch My Hero Academia to
no.
enjoy this show. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
beauty of this show is that you don't have to watch the source material to understand what's going on. If you did watch the source material, you get, you know, nods here and there of just like characters and events that happen. Especially next season when we find out a giant bombshell that is very important to the main show.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that aside, like, this is a wonderful show. I thought that the adaptation was great. I think that there are just, like, minor things that they did well in episode 1, like, they did a lot of the comic book style that they lost throughout the season. I was like, "Okay, if you're gonna introduce us to this series with, like, a huge comic book style and then kind of phase out of it, it's a little frustrating. I want it to be consistent, so that's why it kinda lost its half a point,
Yeah.
but otherwise, I think that this was a wonderful adaptation. So,
Do you
yeah,
have
this is an 8.5 out of 10 for me.
3 left or 4?
I've got 2 before my top 3,
Oh, okay. All
but
right.
I think they are we're on our mutual,
'Cause
so I'm gonna
I have 1 left before my top 3. So,
and what would that be?
that would be Apothecary Diaries.
Fuck me, that's my number 1 of the year of the season.
Nope.
So,
Uh,
um, we could talk about it now. It's
okay.
fine. Apothecary Diaries, let's hop
That's
into
your
it.
number 1?
Yeah, I thoroughly
Wow.
enjoyed this season. I
So,
enjoyed this season slash core
okay.
a
So,
lot
I'm I would
because it
say
gave us so many answers.
no, no,
It
no.
gave us
Okay.
so many answers to mysteries, and it's just like
It
it
had
did
the
it so well.
it had the big so when we did our first episode review, I gave Apothecary Diaries season 2 core 2. I want to highlight that for people. Season
Yep.
2 core 2. I gave first episode a 6.5 because it went basically you had to mellow down from the ending of the first core. Like you had to get back to not all of the chaos that happened on the hunting trip and the frog, right? It had to come back to normalcy. Everything had to balance out.
All the memes.
And it was
Anyways,
very it didn't establish like what was going to happen next, but you got a sense of like, okay, our focus is going to be on two other characters, but it ended up being one of them realistically at the end of the day. But I was like, okay, it's slow. It serves a purpose. It doesn't give you anything beyond that. So in terms of a isolated episode, it was a 6.5. It had the biggest jump in which it went up to an 8.5 for my total score.
fair
My
enough.
biggest
I gave it a 9.
my biggest argument though was that it had the final portion. I would say the last 5 to 6 episodes were infinitely stronger than the first 5 to like 6 episodes. So if you like splitting up the season, because you have like the first part of the core 2 is a random mystery that's solved within the episode. You have some sporadic stuff happening with one of the concubines, and then I'm not going to go into spoilers too much. And then you get like a little teaser for like something that could happen, and then the last 6 episodes that thing happens, right? And then that's when you get all of your answers finally coming out, right? You get I don't want to do too many spoilers because it did just
No,
end,
it's
but like
fine.
we
Well, we
uncover
got one more episode
oh, that's true. We do have one more
because
episode.
they skipped 2 weeks due
Yeah.
to whatever reason, but we got one more episode coming out.
And in fairness, this last episode, again, I can only assume, hypothesize, having not read the source material, it's going to be pretty mellow, pretty mild. It's going to be a lot of like the interactions because all of these things had been had
all
been
the
aired
events.
out, right? You finally get the truth to all of your characters coming out, right? So it's probably gonna, it's not like airing your grievances, but it's, you're
I was
opening up
about to
the
say
room for
it's just gonna be an airing of fucking grievances or,
yeah, the
dirty laundry here.
yeah, there you go. So like again, that's the only reason why I gave it an 8.5, and it only just barely skirted outside my top three. And granted, I only watched 6 or 7 in total for the season, like all the way through. So it's not like
That's
it was
fair.
bad, but the
Yeah.
second portion of the season of this core was certainly like infinitely stronger than the first portion. So it's like it's hard to give it a anything above a 9 because it did take its time and then it ramped up like massively.
Yeah. And I'm gonna make a comparison here that I know you're gonna hate, and the fact
Oh
that I
no.
thought of this is also just something that I'm lamenting
Is it
saying, but
Attack on Titan?
it's just like that one comment you saw on Attack on Titan, like, "Did you see the brain on this thing of just like they were in the massage parlor and then they did this and that," and just like, and then it comes back at the end of the season. You're like, "Wow!" And it's just like, yeah, because they fucking wrote it.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, I think that the execution to this, unlike Attack on Titan, was a lot better. I think
Yeah.
that yeah, I will agree that the first 5 or so episodes are a lot of setup and a lot of kind of not necessarily unnecessary drivel, but just like or everyday life in the back court, but like or back palace.
Rear
But
palace.
it is a rear palace. Thank you. I thank you for correcting my struggle. I was
Back half,
dying
back
there.
shots. So
I
I was
was
just like, I'm gonna let him just keep going.
back shots.
Back
Anyways,
rolls.
yeah, but I think that yes, you were correct. Like the first half of it was less strong. I gave the first episode an 8 because again, it was more Apothecary Diaries. I love this series. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But then yeah, once you start getting the revelations of what's actually going on and putting all the pieces together of this arc in this season, it's great. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. It's well done. And
But
it's emotional too. Like I think that there are a lot of things in there that are just wonderful. Like the last episode that just came out this past Friday, like nearly had me in tears. It was this close. It
yes,
was very, very good.
it was very good. Like I think looking at the entirety of season 2, right? So putting together both
Yes.
cores, I think overall you could certainly give it a 9, right? I don't know if it would get up to a 9.5, but I would give it a 9.
I think
In
if I
in
were to score
totality.
the entirety of season 2, I'd probably give it an 8.5. Because I think that the core 1 of season 2 was less strong than the core of season or the second
I
core.
I
As an
enjoy
overall package.
I enjoyed Core 1 because it gave us a better idea of just how, because we've only ever seen under a microscope, right? The rear palace.
Mhm.
And nothing really outside of it other than like where Mao Mao grew up and spent her time in the pleasure district. So like you only really had those two settings, and then you get introduced to like all these outside characters and this like you kind of, it finally hits you. You're like, oh yeah, right. Like it's still the world. It's still, even though every episode has a disclaimer, it's not real places, it's not real people, it's not a particular setting or time. Like
Fictional.
it's everything is fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake.
Everything's coincidental.
Yes, please don't sue us, a certain country that this is probably most certainly, a part of, historically speaking. You get like the oh yeah, like it's our world in a historical setting. So getting introduced to all these like foreign characters, and then you get a better idea of how like the trade system works, the economies function with one another, like partners as well, because there's a certain trade, I'll say, that happens with that involves humans that,
Ooh,
not really appreciated anymore.
no.
So, but like you get a lot of that unraveling because again, everything was within like the microcosm of just the palace itself, and then when you expand out, you're like, oh, okay, cool. So I like that piece for core
Yeah,
1. I think core 2 is still stronger overall, but it's just because of those last 6 episodes. So I think again,
that's fair.
overall, I could certainly give it a 9 though, because it is still very strong in what it delivers.
Yeah, it's a wonderful show, but yeah, in my opinion, it's my favorite show of the season. It was one of those things week to week. I'm like,
Well,
yes, I'm ready. I'm ready. Friday
so
afternoon, get off work. Let me fucking relax with my poison gal, all right? Like,
Sorry, I ruined your number one.
no, no, it's fine because I'm probably you've got what, 2 shows left?
Uh, well, no, I have three because I
You have
have
your
my top
top
three.
3,
Yeah.
and I've got 4 left, so I don't know where in here
Well, I mean,
that
which one
I'm
didn't make
missing
your
it.
top three?
Well, there's 2 outside of my top 3, and I realize there's
You
1 you
just
haven't
said,
watched, and that's
oh,
in my top 3.
that you have four
So,
left, so you're split. Okay,
4
got it.
left, 2 in my top 3, 2 not.
All
So
right,
we're
we'll
gonna
go
go
through
with one
your.
that yes, that I think will be lower on your list, and that's Witch Watch.
That's my number three. Yeah.
Cool. We'll talk about Witch Watch then. I gave the first episode 7.5. I watched all the first 3 episodes in theaters due to that preview that they do. Okay, side note, sidebar here. Thoroughly love that they're doing that, by the way. Thoroughly love it because I've watched
Yeah.
the first 3 episodes of Witch Watch. I watched the first 3 episodes of Dan to Dan. I
Uh
watched
huh.
the first 3 episodes of Dan to Dan season
Mm
2, which I know, I'm sorry, this isn't trying to
hmm. Mm hmm.
be me gloating because
No,
your
no,
movie theaters
no.
don't have them.
Keep going. No.
But I thoroughly enjoyed this trend because
Yeah.
it is one of those things that it gives you a 3-episode try. Did you
Oh
like
yeah.
it? No? Great, I don't have to watch it. But
Lovely. Yeah.
you know what? I'm trying
Listen,
to
I
just
can
give
be upset because the nearest theater that does this is like 30,000 miles away, it feels like.
I
So
know,
I
my
can be
wife wants me to
grumpy.
move up there, and I'm
I
thinking to
can be
myself, "I'm never
grumpy.
gonna get this again."
No, because if it like like I just want there's like only a select few theaters that do it, and it's like you get one shot. So if it's like if you're busy that day, fuck you.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you're
No.
like, okay, cool. And normally it's like two times too. It's like, do you want to do it in the middle of your workday, or would you like to do it at the like 11 p.m.? And I'm like, well, I have work
Crash
tomorrow. And
crash
then it's
of
like,
night.
well, fuck you still. And I'm like, okay, all right, no
Yeah.
winning.
So, but Witch Watch, I gave the first episode 7.5, season rating an 8. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I think everything about the show was wonderful. It's charming out the ass. Like,
Hmm.
pacing is great. Characters are great. Everything about this show is great. There's no real huge dip in quality. There is like a small one near the end, but it's still
Eh.
not as bad as you would think it is. Like, I think that this show just through and through is wonderful. Did not watch it dubbed, which if you're thinking like, "Oh, did you watch it dubbed?" I didn't, which it would be fun to go back and rewatch it because I know Lily Pichu is the voice of the main girl,
Nico.
but
Yeah.
Nico, thank you. Yeah, my brain has not retained a single character's first or last
Names
name
aren't
other
your strong
than
suit. Names aren't your
no, they're
strong
not.
suit.
Other than Koichi from fucking My Hero Academia Vigilantes. Like, you've lost me everywhere. But yeah, no, Witch Watch, I thoroughly enjoyed everything about the show. Like, it didn't do anything inherently like amazing, but it didn't do anything poorly by any means. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. 8 out of 10.
I gave it an 8.5. I said,
Okay.
I'll just read my notes. I don't know if you'll appreciate it as much, but I said it gives Cromartie High with a splash of Romantic Killer here
Okay.
and there.
I still have yet to watch Cromartie High.
Dude,
It's on my
Cromartie High is
list.
just unhinged. That's the thing. That's the only way to
Yes.
put it. It's old and unhinged. Like it basically, if you've seen, there's a famous scene. I think it's within the first 2 minutes of episode one, where this guy is like, he's like, "Dear mom, I joined a high school and I'm gonna do well. Except I joined a high school and everyone's really scary and I want to go home." And he drops his pencil and this guy picks it up. He goes, "Oh, thank you." And the dude eats it and he's like, "He
Yep.
ate my pencil. He ate my pencil." And then he drops like a whole bunch of them and the dude picks them all up and just starts eating them all. It's just that level of like, what the hell is going on? But I got that same vibe with Witch Watch, because like in the first episode when she dives through the window and he just has that face as shards of glass are going by, I'm like, yeah, no, this is very much in the same line of like that level of comedy. Um on
Yeah,
top
it's
of
just
all of the
bizarre and insane.
Did you say bizarre? Um
I'm done.
but on top of the fact that like there's always the background commentary too from certain characters, it always adds to the level of comedy. But yeah, it was enjoyable. um I don't think, to what you said, there's nothing more I can add, just that it's nothing incredibly special, but it was fun and it has a good
Yeah.
story with lovely characters, which I think those two pieces alone set it apart from a lot of other ones, because we normally will always say like it's nothing new, but it's good. And most of the time we say like 6.5 or 7. But I feel like if you have an engaging story that has a solid through line. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? But a
Yeah.
solid through line and characters that fit well and are enjoyable, then you can certainly make something better than a cookie cutter anime, like copy and paste. So,
Yeah, and the running gags that they have don't feel stale, they feel fresh actually, and, like, I enjoyed all of them,
yeah.
especially the girl who
The cat,
turns into a cat.
the cat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every time I'm just like, "Yes, I cannot wait for what happens next." I know what's gonna happen, but it's like,
Yeah.
to what degree?
Yep.
Um, so yeah, but, I've got 2 left in my top 3 and Lazarus.
Oh no.
So, I don't know where you wanna start. If you wanna start with
Lazarus is
Lazarus.
no, Lazarus is my 2. So we can just
Okay,
do Lazarus first.
so we'll start with Lazarus. Here's the thing. I went into this show, first episode is an 8.5, season ends at an 8. Now,
Ooh,
I
okay.
think I said this in our episode 1 reviews where I was watching this with a buddy and I was being overly critical because they advertise the show out the fucking wazoo of from the creator of Cowboy Bebop. And it's just like, cool, you want me to compare it to Cowboy Bebop? And my buddy was just like, "Frank, shut the fuck up and just watch the goddamn show and enjoy it." I'm like,
You're so angsty.
"Yeah." I was like, "You know what? Fair enough. I will just do that." And so separating my thoughts of what it would be compared to Cowboy Bebop, it's an 8 out of 10. I think that the through line is great, but my complaints still stay the same from like our kind of early season review, or what we thought was going to win over the season,
Mhm.
in which the side character interactions feel lacking. Like they kind of feel like not necessarily Kingdom Hearts of like, hey, they're together so they're friends. Like they don't feel like that, but they don't feel necessarily also organic. They kind of just feel, I mean, granted, yes, they are strangers thrown into this situation, but even as time has passed, they don't feel any closer near the end as they did at the beginning, and I feel like they do marginally, and kind of wish that there were more character banters between the 2, and think that some of the pacing for backstory issues, especially with the, woman's backstory, the Russian woman,
Chris.
I think
Yeah.
that I wish were handled a little bit differently because they didn't really have much to do with the underlying plot. Because everybody else's had to do with the through line, and then hers was just thrown in there. It was just like,
Well,
no.
yeah. Yeah,
It was just a
that's
search and rescue essentially, and it was just like this
well,
this it the through line wasn't really there. It was used as an excuse later, but like it still didn't feel great.
yeah. I mean, so I think first mistake for anyone, not specifically calling you out, is to compare this to Cowboy Bebop. I think that's first mistake. It's the same way like you can't compare the the live action Cowboy Bebop to the original anime because it's not a one for one. It's like an homage, we'll say, to the original creation. It's You have to look at it as its own. I feel like on its own, because I gave it first episode 8, I gave it overall 9. I thought it was fantastic for a season that is captured within, I think it's 13 episodes. I mean, it did its job.
Yeah.
It had an immediate hook with a story, right? You had your mystery, suspense, whatever you want to call it, built into it right away as well, right? You had your ragtag team, which you always love, right? That's drawing from the creator Sechiro Watanabe, I think. I can't remember the
Watanabe.
yeah, Watanabe. Um, that's just you can connect Cowboy Bebop there and be like, all right, ragtag crew, we're on track. Here we go. But I feel like as a standalone, separate from Cowboy Bebop, this does a fantastic job. Start to finish, you have a contained story that has a good ending. I will say though, not spoiling something, I did have the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood moment again with like Leonardo DiCaprio, where I was like, up, right, it's there, right there,
Yep.
and then it sure as shit, it came back at the ending, and I was like, damn it, I fucking saw that, but I like
Yep.
how they looped that in to how everything ended, so, like in sequence, and they put together the context clues of everything. Nothing was very apparent as the viewer, but it didn't go over the top to where you're just like, "Oh, that's ridiculous. That would never happen like that." It was still like on par with like what you weren't suspended in this disbelief, right? You still were grounded in some sense of reality that, okay, this makes sense. They're not making up some superficial bullshit to have it, fully wrapped up in the way that they want
Yeah.
to. Like it's still something where you could put the pieces together and go, okay, that all makes sense. Fine. Um, I can agree to an extent about the characters, but my character issue was with the Phantom Assassin, which I was like, damn, I want to learn more about that person, and we got like effectively an episode and a half with them, with like this just like injection of a backstory, and it happened really quickly, and then it just sort of resolved, and you're like, shit,
Yeah.
that'd have been cool. It would have been something where like in your reference to Chris with the search and rescue mission, if like that was the
Mhm.
connector, right? Because I will agree with you, Doug had a connection with being like an honor student at MIT in a research group, got kicked out, had a connection with a professor who knew Skinner, who's the big, we'll say bad guy, but he's like the doctor that made the drug that made everything painless, but then also was about to kill everyone. Um, so you had him, you had Axel, who I guess to a degree was your only outlier because he just liked escaping prison so many times that his sentence doubled to the point where he had 888 years in prison, something like that.
Yeah.
Chris, the Russian agent, so you're like, okay, your backstory will come in some point, and it did. You had the young kid, Leland, who you're like,
Yep.
all right, found out he's a rich bitch, but then ties into the whole doctor and all the stuff that they uncovered there. And then the hacker girl was like, they had a whole contained episode of her, right? So I get the idea that like, okay, a lot of this seemed like they were injected in, and they were just trying to fill in some sense of a backstory. But at the same time, it's 13 episodes, man. Like, you are limited.
Yeah.
It
No,
didn't.
I think that this would have dealt well with a 26 episode where it's like
Oh
you
yeah,
have
absolutely.
if you or the 24 episodes even where it's like, hey, you have a month, you have 30 full days. Each episode is about a day and a bit. And it
Yeah,
just leaves you off on a cliffhanger or whatever.
yeah.
Like I think that you can make that many stories. It doesn't
I
necessarily all have to tie into the overarching plot line, but like a
I
search and
think
rescue mission or whatever could be 2 episodes and it spans a day and a half or whatever.
I
I think
think
that it yeah,
yeah. I
continue, sorry.
No, you're good. I think that they could have spent had the same amount of stories, but to your point, given them an episode extra, and it'd have been better, and it wouldn't have
Oh,
felt
yeah.
sluggish.
No,
Um,
not even a bit because it did feel a little bit rushed near the end, in my opinion.
yeah, to
With
it.
the whole assassin thing, it felt rushed in my opinion. I
We
feel
got
like you could have expanded that so much better and done it well if you had a few more episodes to work with, and it
we,
not feel like you overstayed your welcome.
we got introduced to one key character who was the head of INSCOM, basically like the army. What
Yeah,
felt like really late. Like the
abruptly.
assassin was very interesting, and I liked how they baked him into the story, but his backstory made no sense to anything else that happened in the context of what we had been introduced to. So he was like completely removed from that aspect.
It
But
felt a little shoehorned, yeah.
the army personnel, like the I can't remember what their title was, but like they felt like you are an important piece to this, but we only got introduced to you at like episode 7 or 8. And I was like, damn,
Yeah.
like that's late, it feels like. So I
Yeah.
I will say though, partly disagree with the character relationships, because if you didn't have some level of connection, you wouldn't have a search and rescue mission. If you didn't have some level of like camaraderie, you wouldn't have people willingly team up to go, on missions that seem dire, right? You'd just be like, all right, fuck off, I'm gonna do my own thing. So it's more subtle. It's not very like obvious, like,
Yeah.
we're a team now. I mean, the ending, they kind of
Well, I
had
didn't
that where
even
they're
want
like,
the team I didn't even want that. I just wish
yeah.
that their personalities came out more in their banter together. It felt kind of dry. Like, the only person that I feel like really shined in the, like, camaraderie banter was Chris, or the girl, or I think that's what her name was.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think they all played a
like
role because like
like, her dialogue felt the most at home with what the series was trying to aim for and didn't. And
Axel,
so yeah.
he
Hmm?
like they all played a specific role, I think, and that's maybe why it didn't feel like they gelled as well together, or like the personalities didn't come out in their conversations. Because like Axel was meant to just be the chaotic
Yeah.
fireball that just went off and was like, I'm gonna do parkour and kick some shit and do my thing, deuces. And at the end, you saw him be more like, all right, I'm gonna, we're gonna try to tag team this and figure shit out together. There was literally one part in an episode where they were all scanning this building to try to figure out how to get in, and he's just like, I'm gonna go through the front door and fucking phone booth box 4 security guards in an elevator. They were just like, okay. So
Yep.
but I mean, to that point, sure, I can see that. I think when you get a bunch of randos together that have like wildly different backstories and personalities and characteristic traits, it's like it's hard to find a good gel. But you could see those moments sparingly happen towards the end, albeit could have come out more. Yeah, but I don't think you could give as much within a 13 episode series as you could with something like, it's 26, or even to the extent of Cowboy Bebop, which is I think was 26 or 28 episodes as well.
26, yeah.
So yeah, but still
Yep.
my number two.
Yeah, and I will say Lazarus was probably the most critical I was of a show. I didn't even get into the sense that, like, animation-wise, I enjoyed a majority of it, but some of the fight scenes and some of the parkour scenes were they felt off-putting because of
Well,
how the animation was done. Because they did a lot of, like, CG kinda 3D environments, which were wonderfully animated, and then really quick motions with, like,
you
2D
can
characters, and it was very contrasting and very odd
you can
looking,
blame
and it
you can blame the director of John Wick, because the director of John Wick helped choreograph, I think, all of the fight scenes.
yeah.
Um,
So, I will say the search and rescue mission, that one wasn't as egregious as the very first episode and the second to last or the last episode. I think that those fight scenes were a bit more actually, no, it's the second to last and last episode. But regardless,
yeah,
I enjoyed my time with it, but if I'm going to put a footnote on here or an asterisk on here, it is I was the most critical of this show
and
purely for the fact that it was a show that was trying to be very serious. It wasn't like a this is your My Hero Academia. This is more of like, hey, we're trying to be a Pluto here.
yeah,
And so with that, I did have a little bit more scrutiny, but with that more scrutiny, it still came out on top.
yeah.
So, I've got 2 more, you've got 1 more. I'm gonna go with my number 2 show of the season since you have nothing to talk about for this one, and that is Mono. Mono was my number 2 of the season. I gave it
Wow.
an 8.5 out of 10. Did not watch the first episode for the first episode review because it came out a bit later, and I still believe I have 1 episode left to watch because it hasn't released yet. But Mono was fucking brilliant, dude. I loved Mono. It's a slice of life. It's from the creator of Laid Back Camp. So if you're already a fan of that, you'll enjoy this, especially for the fact that they throw the Laid Back Camp characters into like random episodes at times.
Yeah,
That it's just like, oh, that's a callback there, or that's that character, that's them, that's them. So it's great for the little bit of Easter eggs there if you've watched both shows. But this show's a slice of life, and it did not need to go that hard in animation. It did not need to go that, like, it just didn't. It didn't, and it did. It went it had some of the best animation this season,
wow.
period. Like, it was a unique art style. What they did with the animation was wonderful. I think that the fact that I was like, I don't know if you're gonna wanna watch Zatsutabi instead of this, for the fact that first episode is like, "Hey, we have this problem. The photo club doesn't have enough members anymore. Well, let's join the photo club and the cinema club, and you all become one club, and then you do club activities." It's like, no, they join clubs, and that's about all the beginning and the end of club activities. They
Yeah.
just that's it. But then it's just these three girls because the fourth girl just kind of just is like, "Oh, our club is being canceled. Cool. I'm the go to home club now." Or go home after school club. But the third member decides, yeah, no, we need four members. I'm just going to sign them up, but they never show up. So minor spoilers. It's like
Damn
episode two,
them.
so whatever. But then it goes to these three girls who befriend a manga artist who sold the camera to them. And this manga artist basically takes them on trips around Japan to find inspiration for her manga. And then these girls find inspiration for photography. So it's like it's
It's
kinda
literally
similar
like
to
Zatsutabi.
Zatsutabi,
Okay.
but less involved in the sense of tourism. Zatsutabi is very much so like,
Yeah.
here's tourism at the wazoo, while Mono is just like, here's tourism, but also just like a lot of fun character interactions, a lot of goofy interactions, and just good times. Like this show oozes characters and personality. It's so much fun, and it has such beautiful animation at times that just doesn't deserve it. If you haven't seen the clip of the 2 cats skateboarding, fucking wonderful clip there. Yeah, no, it's later on in the season, and it's fucking brilliant. It's great. Highly, highly suggested if you just need, like, a cozy show to just kinda giggle at and enjoy and just kinda warm the soul. This is that show. By all means, please go watch it if you need that in your life. So that's Mono. I enjoyed it. It's my number 2 of the season. My number 3, your number 1.
Yep.
Rock is a lady's modesty. Now,
I'm very surprised it's your number 3.
so I gave the first episode a 9.5. Season overall is an 8.5.
Yeah,
I
mine
think I
mine was flipped.
oh, okay, fair enough. I think then kinda going into it, the biggest problem for me was pacing. I think that they took their sweet time introducing more characters, like, they didn't start introducing more characters until episode 4, and it's not like those first 2 episodes like, the first episode was a great, wonderful start of a series. Episode 2 was legitimately kinda similar to episode 1 minus the character introductions. It was more of a in-depth of these characters, but the same, like, outcome of what they do for episode 1. And then episode 3 was similar to that again, and it's just like, is this the whole season? And then
Mm,
it finally starts to introduce other characters
mm,
into the season, and that to me is where I was just like, I was,
mm,
kind of annoyed. I
mm.
think that the pacing was off at times. I think that it could have done a lot ooh, excuse me. It could have done a lot better with that, and it dropped the ball there.
It
Other than the pacing, the music is wonderful, albeit they do reuse one song a lot. Um, I think that the choreography, because they did everything, they captured everything with, like, live people playing the instruments and how the notes were supposed to go. I think that that was wonderful as well. The characters themselves were great once they finally do get introduced. This show is wonderful. It's a great show, but I think that the beginning half of it, the pacing just has a lot of issues in my opinion.
mm,
And that's where it kind of dipped down a point for me.
mm. It's a shame that you're so stupid, but it's okay.
It's
I
fine.
still
It's
appreciate
fine.
you for who you
I'm
are.
still pretty. It's okay.
Yeah. So
I'll smile and wave.
I I think if you and not saying that this has jaded your opinion on it or anything, but I feel like if you equate this to other music anime, and I guess recency bias will just say Bocchi the Rock, then
Sure.
you're going into it wrong. Because the point of this series is not the music, it's the impression and the stigma surrounding rock when you're a part of a different society. When you're in high society, you're in a different echelon from normal people. This rock music is not your thing. That is frowned upon. Like that is the devil incarnate, effectively. And the dynamics between our main character and her mom, albeit very few interactions, those were the most impactful of the entire season. Like there were some insanely intense moments between characters, like between the sisters, between the guitarist and the drummer, between the other band members, between other bands in totality, right? But like
Yeah.
the main character and her mom had maybe 4 interactions that we saw in present day, because they did a couple of flashbacks with her and her father, her birth father. Um,
Yeah.
and we don't ever really get to see the stepdad who brought them into his very rich family. But the main character and her mom have some of the scariest, just utterly terrifying scenes together. And I think that's the big sticking point for me of like, this is the true purpose of this anime, right? It's like, it's less so the music, more so what the music brings about.
Represents.
Yeah, represents to agree, but like it, it's the understanding that like if you go into a specific society, if you become a part of this higher tier of people, you have to sacrifice things. And that was her mentality going in, right? She's like, and we don't really find that out until, end of episode 1 into episode 2, right? That our main character is this grungy, hardcore guitarist who just wants to say fuck you to everyone. And you're like, hell yeah. But you can't. She can't, because she has to give up this good impression that she's this top tier student that's a part of a high society family, and can't, that would be a blemish. Not even a blemish, that would ruin the family that she was now adopted into, and her mother would quite literally probably kill her. Um, I think that is the focal point for this anime, and I think that the first 3 episodes you're talking about, fine, they're slow. I think it really drives home that point that like she has to get rid of this. She can't indulge herself in this hobby anymore. Like this has to be a once and done thing. And she realizes, no, this is who I am. And I can be 2 different people, because this other, you know, very fancy high society lady is just like me. And she's able to do it. Why can't I, right? And then it becomes a competition between the 2 of them, and then they start adopting more members, and they're like, all right, well, let's make a band now. And then you get into all of the fun stuff with like making music and seeing them perform and stuff, with still the added like layer of, I got to keep this a secret, and don't want to ruin what my mom has already
Yeah.
got
I think
into.
I think
So
so for me, and just kind of with that mentality, I would like to see more diversity between those interactions between her and her mom, because every time the mom comes on screen, it's the same interaction. It's, "Oh, you've given up rock music. It's so wonderful that you're adapting well to the high society." It is the same conversation had every single time
I
throughout the season.
and I think I I think there's slight differences, not anything drastic, but I think that's even more terrifying, because it's like you're having the same goddamn conversation every time, and you're like, I've got this nailed down. I know how to respond. And the one time she floats something over to you and has like that fucking like horror anime type smile on with the blank ass eyes and the no teeth grin, and you're just like, wow, didn't realize you became a yokai now. This is terrifying and unsettling. Cool. I think that's like, again, it's those subtle little interactions where you're just like, I don't like, okay, let's go back to you being like the happy mom, and I'm like the very, pristine, perfect child that, it was able to adopt into this family's lifestyle. Yeah, please don't do that anymore, you scary mom. I think that's, again,
Yeah.
like it's those subtle interactions that I feel like left a very lasting impression on me. And again, I think it speaks more to what this anime was trying to hit home on than like the music side of it. Which again, the music side was incredibly entertaining. All the songs they played,
Yeah.
a couple of them were repeated, but I'm assuming it was more just for like, you know,
Trying
band
not to
jam.
like
Well, it was just for like practice
yeah.
band jam style stuff, right? So I like this one.
There
This one was wonderful. It's the another series that's very similar is Young Ladies Don't Play Fighting Games. That one's entirely more comedic, right? It's not, it doesn't have this like extra layer of like, if I fuck this up, my mom and I will be kicked out and I will probably be disowned by my mom as well for
yeah.
ruining everything. The Young Ladies Don't Play Fighting Games is like, if I get found out, I get kicked out of the dorm. And it's just
Okay.
like it's not as intense. I think it's like I could get kicked out of the school, but it's mainly just like, oh, I would get kicked out of the girls' dorm, and also people would not see me in the same light if I'm yelling "fuck yeah, you noob" in the top of my lungs in the middle of the night. But
That's
I
fair. But yeah, and there are other things that I would bring up, but like are kind of spoilerish, so I don't want to necessarily say it. But there are a few more interactions between characters that I wanted to see that were very samey or just weren't there that could have easily been there, and I wish that they were. So like
yeah
God, I really don't want to say names or
no
name
no it's
names or
just
even just give
yeah
relationships,
I
but there are a lot
understand.
of character interactions that could have been there that weren't there, and I really wish they were. So
I think where the season left off gives a very good setup for now we get to explore more of like the connections between characters, right?
yeah, no, I
You
agree.
have an established group. They're grounded. Well, it's uneasy ground, we'll say, but they're grounded enough to where you don't have this like worrisome feeling of like, oh, they're gonna start like dissolving
I,
or dropping like flies. And now you get to see them work with one another more and with those other characters. Um, but I
yeah,
thought the first
yeah,
season delivered like
yeah.
through and
No,
through.
by no means that I think that it didn't. It's an 8.5 out of 10 for me. Like I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed My Hero. I thoroughly enjoyed Vigilantes a lot,
Hmm.
but to me, again, it just to put it over that 8.5, I needed a handful of other like tweaks to get to that 9.5, but
Damn.
it didn't
Damn.
deliver on those again. And we can go over it after the fact, and I can tell you exactly what it is because I don't want to give spoilers here.
Yeah.
But it's just if you had given me those interactions and just changed the interactions between her and her mom just more, because they again, as you said, they were similar, but they were minor tweaks, and it's just like I wish that they were a bit different. Then yeah, I probably would have scored this a bit higher, and it probably would have beat out Apothecary Diaries for my number one. So
Just
that's where I'm at.
imagine a situation where every day you wake up and like like clockwork, your mom asks says the same thing and you just
I'd
have
go
it
fucking
you have
crazy.
it nailed down, right? It's like morning, here's your breakfast. Are you ready for school? And you have all your answers. You're like, you know, it's gonna be the same. It's like, all right, have fun. Imagine one morning you get up and the first two are the same and they throw in a curveball and you just have to look up and be like, what? Wouldn't that be unnerving? Wouldn't that just kind of throw you off? Yeah, I think that was the thing that was like,
Only if
ooh,
your fucking like
robotic.
if your life dependency depended on it, then yes, sure. But like if my
Yeah.
mom were to be like, "Oh, here's your breakfast. Are you ready for school?"
Did you touch
You
yourself
know,
this morning?
or
Just,
last night, and just be like, "What the
"Huh."
fuck, mom? Like, do you want to know the answer?" Like,
Well,
just
if you did, you'd grow hair on your hands and go blind.
yeah, that's fair.
So you know it is pretty life or death.
Speaking of life or death, thank you so much for joining us this week. We appreciate you guys keeping us alive, seeing your support.
We hope you're
Really is
alive and
wonderful
not
to us.
dead, is the transition you should have used. You just said,
Yeah, the
speaking of life
brain.
or death, thanks for joining us. And I'm like, are you
You're
insinuating
keeping
that?
us alive and we're not dead here, okay? Like that's what I was going for, but
Okay.
fine. You know what? Sure. If you're still listening to this point, we greatly appreciate it, and we greatly appreciate any and all feedback. So please leave us a like, comment, etc. for what you thought of this show. What were your favorite shows of the season? We greatly appreciate seeing your insight on that as well. And for just our last plug, this last time we will be at Anime Expo this year. So if you are in the LA area and you're like, what am I going to do Thursday night? We will be giving a panel at 10:30 p.m. in room 511 ABC. It's a
Yeah.
really fucking weird naming culture there, but
And
we're very grateful still.
hopefully you already have a ticket because Thursday is already sold out. So
Didn't know that. I know
yeah,
Thursday or Friday and Saturday are going fast, or they're
Thursday's
still
sold
tickets,
out.
but
So hopefully that bodes
yes.
well for the panel.
But if you're going to Anime Expo and you want to say hi to us, please by all means join our Discord, send us a message, say hi. We'll love to meet up with fans, get feedback in person. Just don't spit in my face, and because I'll cry. I will cry. But no, we will be at Anime Expo. And if you want to see more of us, please follow us on social medias at Bakacopodcast, where we try to post. But both of us have been entirely too fucking busy with real life to just
Yeah.
do any of that.
Eh.
So you can go back and rewatch old clips and old gags that we've made and old reviews as well. So, but yeah. So again, thank you for joining. Until next time, Spark Triumph. We'll see you then.